one frustration which I had with smartwatches. Basically, when you do interval trainings, which I do sometimes, they show you after the training that it was really, really easy because they do pulse rate measurement and the pulse rate goes up really slowly when you do the interval training. And once you did finish your sprint, basically your pulse is not up, but breathing reacts immediately.
Welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, a podcast about startup stories and learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. If you enjoy listening to our show, make sure to follow the podcast and leave a rating. And now, here's your host, Sylvan.
Matthias, a very well welcome to the Swisspreneur Show. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
You're the co-founder and CEO at BreezeLabs, a company that creates a new way to track sports performance. I'm really curious to learn more about your company. So directly jumping to the first question, what motivated you to actually start BreezeLabs in the first place?
When I was working actually partially at ETH and at CSS, I knew from there that it is possible to track breathing with a smartphone, with a normal microphone. And then I started to do research. What does actually breathing mean in sports? And as I go running quite frequently, I see all these people running with headphones in the forest. They listen to music. And the more I delved into the topic, what breathing means in sports, the more I got excited because breathing is basically the perfect addition to heart rate. It's not the same. It's very different, but it means a lot. And one example, which was also one frustration which I had with the smartwatches. Basically, when you do interval trainings, which I do sometimes, they show you after the training that it was really, really easy because they do pulse rate measurement and the pulse rate goes up really slowly when you do the interval training. And once you did finish your sprint, basically your pulse is not up, but breathing reacts immediately. So when you start your sprint, you immediately start to breathe fast. So that is one of the things where I actually see, okay, this is a really cool application and it will change something in my life when I do my training.
That rings a bell. I have the same issue where every time I do a HIIT training, the ring or the watch or whatever I'm using shows me, oh, you didn't really train that hard, but it feels
exactly.
very differently. So there's this new technological possibility, right, that you can now make use of to track breathing and to track sports performance. And I wonder, is that also sort of this technological advancement? Is that the main reason why you're working on this problem right now, or are there any additional reasons?
I think, technological advances definitely make it possible now, and it wouldn't have been possible 5 years ago. Everybody talks about Gen AI now, but machine learning and AI, they make huge advances in general. So the algorithms get a lot better. That's something we are profiting from. The other thing is the headphones. The headphones get better. They include a lot of sensor. Maybe some listeners have seen that Apple just submitted a patent also to make headphones healthcare devices. That is a big trend, and people start to wear more and more headphones. So it's a trend, especially with younger people. And the other thing is listening to music while you record. So while you record your breathing wouldn't have been possible 2 years ago because the Bluetooth standard is also changing. So we are definitely at the right time with the right technology because it's becoming possible now and people are using it more and more, these headphones and tracking in general.
Amazing. And timing is not everything. It's very important, but you also need a team to make the magic, to make the dream work. So what experience does your team bring to the table?
We're an ETH spin-off, so we have the advisors from ETH who did their PhD there, who did a lot of research on how to recognize breathing with standard hardware like we do. Patrick, my co-founder, he's the CTO. He is a machine learning expert. He has 11 patents on machine learning. He spent a lot of time in machine learning. He also has a PhD. We have Nicholas on the team. He's an audio expert, so he studied audiology. He had his own startup and worked 5 years basically just in audio, how to filter the signals, how to deal with audio data. We have Till, he is a bachelor from ETH, also an ML expert. And then myself, I have more than 5 years actually in digital health. And I've seen which business models work, which don't work, a lot of experience in that field. And also important in that context, I love running. I'm in 3 running clubs myself. So I'm going out, run, I talk to the people. And I think I understand actually what they like, what they don't like, and what their problems are. So I'm quite embedded in the runners community.
Amazing. So you really walk the talk in that sense. I love that.
Yeah.
And I also wonder, with the team that you put together, what are some of the recent milestones that you have achieved?
So we have the key milestones. Basically, our algorithm works. So we had quite a long time also where we were experimenting. We had some difficulties, but now we can say since February, our algorithm really works. It also works in practice when people are running outside. We do have a first customer, which is a very important thing as well. So we see some demand starting once, as we now can prove that it actually works. We have an InnoSwiss collaboration with the University of Basel, which we just started, where we have quite a large grant and also a PhD starting on the sports science part of it. And we also already raised some of the funding we are doing for the entire round. So some of the money is already on our account. So we are pretty well on track to close the funding round soon.
Amazing. Really exciting times. Yeah. And, in these exciting markets that you're operating in, it's usually also a bit crowded with competition. So I wonder, do you have any competition? How does this competitive landscape look like? And if you have competitors, how do you differentiate yourself from them?
So that was actually the probably most surprising for me when I started in this topic. There is a lot of competition, but the competition is only indirect. So all the competitors who measure briefing, they do it with a hardware. So you have to wear a chest strap or a shirt or some other wearables. But there's nobody out there who's doing it only with the audio, only with the headphones like we do. So a lot of indirect competition, but no direct competition. And interestingly, we also talked to a couple of VCs, and as they are at the beginning, they said, well, no competition. We don't really believe it. But then they did their research and they came back. Actually, we really didn't find someone who's doing the same like you. So tracking briefing is a topic. There's a lot of wearables providers, but there's no one using the headphones.
Amazing. And along that journey that you had so far, I know that there are tough challenges across every entrepreneur's journey. If you had to pick one, what was the toughest challenge that you had to overcome so far with your team?
So I think it's really difficult to answer, and for me, it's the combination of things, right? You have to do so many things. You have to build up a team. You have a research network. You have to fundraise. You have to make sure your algorithms work. You have all the testers which you have to manage. So the toughest challenge in itself was actually the combination of so many unknowns. I come from the corporate world. There you have a lot of resources. You have a lot of people supporting you. Money is there. Resources are there. And as a startup, it's completely different. And so for me, the toughest challenge was to combine all of these things and manage it with limited resources and to focus very strongly on what you actually have to achieve and what is important for the survival of your company.
I like that. I think that's a very good summary of what it means to be an entrepreneur in that sense. Well said from your side. At the moment, you are also fundraising. You mentioned it already. How much money are you looking for, and what will the funds be used for in the end?
So we're looking to fundraise a maximum of 500,000 Swiss francs. And from this round or from this group, we're looking for 60K. That should fill us the entire round of 500,000. And what we want to do is we want to expand the tech team. So most of it is going to go into the tech team. We want to gather much more data. We already now have the biggest briefing data set in the world we are aware of. We want to make the algorithm market ready. So now we have a prototype algorithm, but to make it market ready and also deployable, that's quite another step. And probably the most important thing for investors, we are convinced that this money is going to take us there where we actually have 2 customers at least who pay recurring licenses. And that's going to be a big value increase as well, because then we are able to prove, okay, big corporates, they need the algorithm, they want it, they implement it, and also they pay recurring licenses, not just pilots, and implement it basically for a longer time.
I like that. A very clear milestone-driven inflection point that you want to reach with your team in that sense and with the funding that you're looking for. And in that sense, anyone who is interested to learn more about your case, we will also publish it live on the Swisspreneur Syndicate. So they can just sign up at our website, swisspreneur.org/syndicate, to receive access to your deal memo, etc., and the pitch deck, of course. and then can make their own investment decision if they would like to become part of BreezeLabs' journey. And Matthias, to wrap up the conversation today, I also have 3 rapid fire questions just to give people a bit more context about who you are as a founder and CEO behind the company. I'm going to start with the first one. What was your summer job as a teenager?
I did quite a lot of things, but what impressed me most is I was working at an assembly line for quite some summers. And there I also learned what really hard work actually is. So I still admire those people.
I love them. And what are you most proud of in your life?
I'm pretty proud of having a history of innovations which actually people really use. One of the examples is the healthcare platform Well, which some people may know, where I played a pivotal role. So I think that's something I'm really proud of and something I also love. I love to disrupt, I love to innovate, and I love to see people using the product.
Amazing. And the last question for you today, what is a surprising fact that people don't know about you?
Well, surprising is probably that I traveled more than 80 countries and I have a love for discoveries, and many of them are pretty exotic. So if you need exotic travel trips, I can help you out.
Amongst these 80 countries, do you have a favorite that stands out?
It's difficult, but I really love Kyrgyzstan and Georgia. They're 2 absolutely amazing countries.
Super cool. Matthias, thank you so much for your time today. We're really excited to see your case going live on the Swisspreneur Syndicate, and I already wish you all the best and lots of success with the upcoming fundraising. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me here.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, you can support us by rating our show on Apple Podcasts. This way, we can reach an ever-growing number of aspiring entrepreneurs.